Hello, everyone. We're live. Thank you for watching. If you could kindly share this video in any WhatsApp group or Facebook group that you're watching. Obviously, everyone probably heard about the announcement Uber made today. James, you want to take over?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we can maybe give it a minute or so, can we?
Yep.
While people are coming online, but it's definitely a significant. It's a big day, isn't it? But as ever with Uber, the devil's in the details. So while I mean, I guess the overall tone is while we welcome that really progress has been made. This still is not compliant with the Supreme Court ruling, but we'll get into that as we go. So I mean, I think fine. It's definitely progress, and we proved some points. Now, one of the points we proved in this agreement, Uber always said you can have your flexibility or you can have something else, and here they are tonight offering more pay, but still with flexibility, so that we can lay that myth that, and it wasn't a myth, it was a threat, wasn't it, that they would take flexibility away. We've proven now that you can actually fight for better working conditions, get them, and maintain the flexibility. But this falls short of what the Supreme Court ruled. So there's still some more work to go on this. Anyway, Yasin, how are you feeling about it?
This falls short. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So just give me a minute, James. If you could just some more work. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I'm good, but I just think it's a little bit too late. And one of the things that I found that wasn't really that I'm not pleased about, it only applies from the time that you're POB, meaning you got a passenger on board. So, for example, if I'm working 10 hours, like when I leave my home and I get into my car and I'm going to return back home after 10 hours, I'm only getting paid for the time I'm POB. And that could mean like I'm only working for 3 hours. So I'm only getting paid for 3 hours. And it doesn't get rid of that element of, let's say, as they get more and more drivers onto the platform, we're going to have issues. We're going to have issues. But anyway, we're joined by Steve Hull from Birmingham. How you doing, Steve? Could you hear us all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you. I'm good.
Hello.
Thanks.
Hello, Steve. How are you doing?
Hi, James. I'm good. Thank you.
Historic day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's it's a good day. It's a shame that it didn't go far enough. Didn't abide to the ruling, but it's a step in the right direction.
Well, it's a step in the right direction, but yeah, we're not there yet, I'm afraid. But I mean, I don't know. Should we get into it? I've just put out some messages, Yasin, to see if we let the audience build up a little bit, and then we can get into it and maybe have a longer conversation about it. What do you think, Yasin? Yasin is still out there.
If we let the audience build up a little bit, and then we can get into it. Yeah, hi, James. Just give me a few minutes, and I'll be back. If you could just give me 2 minutes, and I'll be back on. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll give it a few minutes before we start to get into it. But look, the big news tonight, 9 o'clock tonight, Uber put out a press release saying that they are going to guarantee at least the minimum wage from the point of pickup to point of drop off. Holiday pay paid at around 12%. Pension enrollment, not clear what their contribution will be, but there will be some. So that's definitely, it's definitely an improvement, but it falls short of what the Supreme Court ruled. So we do need to, acknowledge that, and we'll get into why that's important. So it's progress, but don't believe the hype. If Uber's, so there's some of the press statements out there now is that Uber is classifying people as workers. It's not. It's fallen far short of that. But we'll get into why that's the case. But it's definitely, look, it's a victory. It's testament to the amount of pressure and organizing that all of us have done together. Steve led the charge in Birmingham. Steve is one of the original claimants, along with myself and Yassine, that's been on this road since 2015. But we're not finished yet. We're not finished there yet. This deal falls short. And plus, you know, like the thing is, we've always said, look, we've got to get to legal minimums. We can't celebrate things that don't reach that threshold of legal minimum.
Yeah.
And then beyond legal minimum, there's still so much more that we need to get. So we need to talk about that a little bit as well when Yassine comes back. But Steve, I mean, what are you thinking?
As I said, like I just feel like it falls short. Uber before had said that, you know, this judgment only, that sent out a massive press release to every, sent out a massive email campaign to every driver, and saying that this ruling only applies to the 22 people, 22, 26 people, and you know, like now here they are after sending out a focus group questionnaire, and they've done this. It just feels like closing the stable door after the horse has bolted. It's too little, too late.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And what are they trying to actually? You know, my question with Uber is like what you've just said. If they've actually done something, why have they done it? Yeah. What is it that they're trying to dodge further down the line?
Yeah.
That they're putting forward now. You know, like they're doing something now to try to take the pressure off something further down the line. That's the only reason they ever do things. They never do anything from a positive standpoint for the goodness of the drivers, or even just to be fair. Nothing is ever to be fair in the interest of the people that drive for them, or that even their passengers. Nothing is like it's just about them capturing their market share, and you know, like this all just reeks of a PR stunt for me, if I'm honest.
There's more, a lot more to this, I'm afraid. Go ahead, Yassine.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a weak PR stunt. That's what it is. I mean, it doesn't really fix the issue. And for the last 6 years, they've been scaring people on the fact that, look, your flexibility is going to go away. You're going to be classified as employees. So technically speaking, nothing changes for the driver. All it means is this is the minimum you'll ever make. But the fact is, and what we were just talking about earlier, is it doesn't address the issue of what the Supreme Court ruled, which is the time we're logged on to the time we're logged off. So there's still a whole massive issue that we need to push for.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are. I mean, should we get into it, Yassine? We think we're ready.
Let's go ahead. I'm ready.
Yeah. I mean, let me just share one thing real quick. But can you carry on for a second, Yassine, and then we'll jump into it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. So, thank you for everyone watching. We're getting a lot of comments coming through, so it's really difficult to go through them. As you could see, like, this is something, even though it's not a massive victory for us, but this is something that we as a union been fighting for years. And one of the things I would request, we got over 236 people watching. The first thing that you need to do is join the union, and that's ADCU. We're the union out there fighting for the cause, for the drivers. Yeah. And it's not just about, even though today's conversation is more focused on Uber, we're not just there to fight Uber. We're there to help drivers on a day-to-day basis around your licensing issues, around the bigger campaigns. And it's not just Uber, it's Ola, it's Bolt. And we're the right union for you. We're getting bigger and bigger. But as a way, like, I see a lot of guys putting comments, they're excited, they're celebrating. But one of the ways to support us is to join us, not just be coming on here and posting comments. and that's the way to show solidarity. And I keep saying the same. If anything, now more than ever, you need to be part of the union because things are gonna change, and we're gonna see good stuff. We're gonna see bad stuff. Whether it's with companies such as Uber, whether it's with the licensing, like now is the time to be with the union, but be with the union for the people that you see that are active, doing something to help you or your industry, and that's us guys here. Like if you want to join some other, and by the way, there's loads of other good unions out there. I mean, just join a union, but we're the guys that are out there day in, day out. Yeah. Anyway, Assalamu alaikum, Sam. I see you're here. So you're the guy that's going to be getting paid the most money out there. And I hope you're going to take us out for a party. Yeah. Steve, how are you getting on anyway?
Yeah, I'm okay. Like I'd just like to echo what you were saying about it being, like this is a collective effort. It's all of us together. Like the operators are there to make money off us, to take their rent off us, to take whatever they can. The council are there to take whatever they can off us in fees. Who is there to protect us? To protect us, just so we can go out to work. We have to do it ourselves. We have to join together, be strong, and like pick each other back up. And like you're right, you're seeing like the one of the key fundamental issues is the ability to work as well. Like the local issues. If we get our license taken away from us for any reason, for false accusations, for anything that like we may or may not have done, well, in most chances we haven't done. It's a false accusation, and who is there at that point then to support us? It's too late. We need to be proactive about joining the union, making sure that we're there supporting each other when we've got to send letters to local MPs about grants and councillors about the grants that have been going on where we're missing, where we, like I myself, licensed in Birmingham, live outside of Birmingham. I haven't been able to receive a grant because I don't live in the within my licensed area.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So we all need to join together and support each other and be strong together. Like the only way that we got Uber to this point to bend at all was because Yassine, James, myself, other people, we were happy to put our neck out on the line, stretch our neck right out, and go, no, this isn't right for everyone else. This isn't right for me. It's not right for other drivers. And, together, we've proven that we can take these people on and we can win. And we've done it on a national level and at local level. So we need other drivers to show us support. And then if you show us support, we can show you support.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, one of the things people are forgetting, it wasn't just about pay. It is also about the way Uber treats drivers. Like, for example, when you get deactivated from the platform, when a customer makes a complaint, like the rating system, all that kind of stuff, like how we're being performance managed. For example, like when James got assaulted, it took 10 weeks to get that information from Uber. Yeah. So what happens if Uber deactivates? So it doesn't like cover all our issues, and that's something that we still have to campaign or fight as collectively. Yeah, there's a lot. But anyway, we got Hardy, who just here for London. Just join us. Hardy, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you doing, guys?
Somebody's got a bad connection
You're one
there.
of the claimants in this case.
We should.
What did
Go ahead,
what is
Hardy.
your question?
Yeah,
Well,
how you feeling,
I
Hardy?
came in here to tell Well, to be honest with you, nothing. I mean, we haven't got anything. It's, as Steve said, it's just a PR stunt, and more work needs to be done, and we're not there yet. Put it that way.
So look, I think we have a good audience now, Yasin. Should we crack into it? Yeah.
We've got a couple of people watching. Let's go ahead.
There's a lot of interference on this though, so I don't know if everybody can mute. I don't know where that's coming from. Okay, it's gone now, wherever that was. So Uber have announced this evening, 9 o'clock, that they are going to respect worker rights, but only in part. I think, Steve, where is that coming from, that noise? I don't know where it is. Okay, never mind. Only in part, because what? Sorry? Carry on? Okay. So Uber is going to respect the Supreme Court ruling, but only in part. What the Supreme Court said is that drivers are entitled to minimum wage, holiday pay, freedom from discrimination, whistleblower protection. You're entitled to those statutory protections for all of the time that you're working, from when you log in to make yourself available on the platform for work until you log out again. But what Uber's come along tonight and said is pulled this like little magic trick and said, yeah, you can have all of that plus pension, which is nice, but only for the period of time from when you're dispatched to pick up a passenger until you drop that passenger off. The problem with that is that for a lot of drivers, that's about between 50 and 60% of your working time. For me, and this is why it's so important to get your data. When I got my data and I looked at it, my actual utilization of time on platform was only about 50%. In New York, where all the data goes to the regulator for all drivers, because that's the law there, the New School in New York analyzed all that data for minimum wage in New York. So they had probably about the same as us, maybe slightly more, about 100,000. They had 110 private hire vehicles in New York. So it's pretty similar to London. And when they crunched that data, they found that the working time, that the engage time, if you like, from dispatch to drop off was 60%. So 40% is idle time of your working time. So that would mean that the minimum wage kicks in, but you should be earning minimum wage while you're POB anyway. When you have a passenger, it's just when you put all your working time together, it doesn't make minimum wage. So now, however you feel about that, some people would say, oh, that's fine. But it doesn't really matter how we feel about it. That's what the Supreme Court ruled. They ruled it's from when you log in to when you log out. Uber's choosing to interpret that to be, it's not even an interpretation. They're not following the Supreme Court ruling. Supreme Court ruling was very clear. It's from log in to log out. Uber is now going to say, oh yeah, you can have a worker status, but from dispatch to drop off. That's not what the Supreme Court ruled. And again, whatever you think, or whatever somebody else thinks, or whatever the Adam Smith Institute thinks, or the Institute of Economic Affairs, these are the kind of right-wing think tanks that have supported Uber on all of this stuff. Whatever they think doesn't really matter, or what we think doesn't matter. It's what the Supreme Court has said is that it applies from log on to log off, but Uber is choosing to interpret that. Now, let's break it down. You know, what do we think the gross fares per hour? I think my rough, and this maybe Steve, Hadi, and Yasin jump in on this, but my rough rule of thumb is that whatever your gross fares are, cut that in half, and that's probably your take home. Because Uber probably takes 25%, and then the other 25% is your running cost, and maybe you can keep the rest for yourself. And that's before national insurance taxes or anything like that, right? So, you know, on a good day, you know, you may get £20 an hour gross fares on a good day. And you won't get it these days, but on a good day, £20 an hour. But normally, you know, 16 to 18 is probably more realistic. I mean, it'd be just good to hear what you guys think about this. So cut that in half, and you're still around minimum wage, but that doesn't include all this other time that you're waiting. And so so Uber have not compliant with the they're not compliant with the Supreme Court ruling. Sorry, because we're missing. You're missing about 40 to 50% of your paycheck. I mean, the other things we've said, look, before we can really kind of negotiate with a company like Uber, they just must reach that minimum legal minimum threshold. But when we get them there, like, we also need to talk about some other stuff that's really important, like the dismissals process. We have no protection from unfair dismissals. It's a huge pain point for drivers. The surveillance that's going on, the unfair dismissals, the accusations of fraudulent activity based on surveillance, but none of that is shared. So we need to have a proper functioning appeals process. And we also need to this is the other thing that worries me, is how is Uber going to figure out what the minimum wage is for that period from dispatch to drop off? They have to make assumptions about your costs, about your running costs. Well, sorry, I think we should reach a collective agreement about what that model is for calculating those expenses. That's not for Uber to decide. That's got to be reached by agreement, because I'm not going to trust Uber to say what any of our members' running costs are. That we have to have a proper process for figuring that out. And then finally, I think there needs to be a proper agreement, collective agreement in here about data access. But that's another story, because it's really important for us to protect our rights in the future that we have proper access to data for data trust. But anyway, I don't know. What do you? That's my breakdown of this. Look, we've made progress. I'm thankful. That's great. And I don't want to sound like an ingrate. I don't want to sound like a pedant. I don't want to sound like a stick in the mud here. But we have to call this as it is. This is not what the Supreme Court ruled. It just isn't, and it's far from it. So it's about 40% short of what the Supreme Court said. So good progress, but it's not there. It's not good enough. It's not at legal minimum. Sorry, it's just not. And to me, there'll be a lot of debate about this now. Wait till you see. But there shouldn't be a debate about it. They've got to reach legal compliance, and then we can debate about what other nice things they can do. I know. Yassine, Steve, you guys, what do you think? I'll stay quiet for a while.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it, because I mean, it's early days. We just don't know. I'm hoping Uber does do the right thing and actually, do exactly what's the right. Basically, they need to honor the fact that from the minute you log on to the minute you log off. So what they're doing right now, that's just a PR. And this is the same company that turned around. Remember when we won in 2016, they sent an email to all the drivers saying the ruling only applies to 2 people. When we won at the Supreme Court, the ruling only applies to 25 people. So I think they now realize finally that it's catching up. And again, it's a cheap PR stunt. And we saw this with the AXA policy. So Uber introduced this AXA policy, and they went around talking about how great this insurance policy was, and people had the protection. But then we hit the pandemic. And when we hit that, there's so many drivers contacting us, and a lot of drivers probably watching right now had issues with AXA where they weren't able to claim. So let's say they have got this great pension policy. Like, what is it? Like, the fact is, we don't need cheap PR stunts. We need to make sure that the law is being followed, and there is actually a real minimum floor in the market, making sure that drivers ain't being exploited. And one of the biggest concerns to me is getting deactivated. Why is Uber failing to work with a group of drivers together? Why do they have to talk to us as individuals? Why can't they do it together, collectively? So they're the kind of issues that, that needs to be, considered. But at the same time, it's too early. Like, we only just found out just an hour ago. Even me, I've been deactivated from the platform for 2 years. And even today, out of the blue, I received the email from Uber. So I'm not sure if you got one, James and Steve, but yes, I actually emailed every single driver that actually worked or have worked. One of the things is, what about people that got deactivated unfair? Do they get any kind of, what is the full like people that being discriminated against or any kind of victimization or whistleblowing, all that kind of stuff. Like, what is it? How does that, like, what are they fixing here? Is it just a temporary PR stunt just to make Uber look good for the time being? So, but Steve, I think you're typing, so we can hear some background noise in there. Steve?
No,
No,
Yasin,
I'm
I think
typing.
there's some instability in your connection. When you go on mute, I think just go mute for a second, Yasin. Yeah, it's your connection is not stable. Oh no, it's not that either. Sorry, Yasin, it wasn't you.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming from Steve's phone, I think. Yeah, I think when he's tapping
No,
or something.
I think it's your microphone, James.
Go ahead, Steve.
It's from somewhere. As I stated earlier, I feel like it's all PR. I feel like it falls short. I just I know, like I'm probably like you guys. I feel exasperated with it. I feel, like it just feels like a constant game of cat and mouse. And it's like with the worker rights thing. That how far can they kick something down the road? How far can something just keep being kicked? Like before everyone tires out. And obviously we're not going to tire out. We're gonna keep fighting. And like they just keep moving the goalposts a little bit. They keep moving the goalposts. We've got to keep kicking the ball until we score the goal, until we score the actual finishing goal, until the full time whistle goes. We just got to keep playing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, like,
strong,
yeah, I mean, I think one of the this is not just about Uber. So we got Ola, we got Bolt, we got Free now, and one of the question is like, what Bolt doing in this, or Ola, for example, like, and one of it's great to see Uber at least doing something in terms of making sure drivers are earning what they should be, and putting the floor. But at the same time, what about the regulators, like Transport for London? Where are they? Where's like this shouldn't be like, it just shows that there's a failure in the whole system, especially when it comes to the licensing regime, like that should be there. Because like one of the arguments has been is Uber a technology company or are they a transport company? So we're in an employment tribunal. And Uber's saying they're just a technology company. And then when it comes up to Uber's license renewal, they're saying something different where they're a transport company. How does that work out? Like, you got the same company in two different courts saying two different things. But
well, I remember a judgment saying that Uber speaks with forked tongues. I remember that judgment very clearly. It says one thing to one person and another thing to another person. But you're right. How does it apply to other people? That's a good question. How in certain situations the exact same thing doesn't apply, but we need that basic floor. We need a basic floor throughout the whole industry. There's enough. The regulators need to be aware of over licensing. Why are they there over licensing and putting congestion charges up in cities such as Birmingham, Leeds, Manchester, other cities? They're talking about improving the air quality. Drivers are having to get newer cars, like to conform with that, but they're not getting the work. The regulators aren't regulating.
Let's
it's like the regulators and the bases are conspiring to just make as much money as they can off the drivers.
Let's think about that, the knock-on effects of this. I think it would be useful to unpack that, because I'm going to make some predictions if I can. Firstly, we need some clarity on the contractual situation, because the Supreme Court said that the current contractual regime that we've got is not compliant with the Private Hire Vehicles Act in London. So TfL is a real problem there, because if this contractual regime that makes the driver the principal and Uber the agent, I mean, either Uber's got to withdraw all of those contracts and recontract this thing properly, or it's not compliant with the regulatory regime. And TfL need to get on top of that, because TfL allowed that licensing regime that the Supreme Court found to be not legal. TfL has allowed this to go on since 2012. And so we're working with Corey Kreider and Rosa Curling at the Foxglove team to challenge that now, because honestly, TfL fostered the exploitation of 110,000 people. There's no other way to really put that. And that was a headline. That was the first Guardian headline we had in 2005. Damien Gale wrote that about a report that we had written at the time, that TfL was fostering the exploitation of 110,000 people. And I'm afraid they still are. And that's clear from the Supreme Court ruling. So prediction number one, something needs to be done about the contractual situation to clarify who's the boss and who isn't anymore. Is Uber is going to continue saying you're your own boss and all that kind of stuff? I mean, we can be, but then it needs to be a different working arrangement, is all that means. The second thing is here's my prediction. My prediction is that these favorable terms for the period of time when you're POB, passenger on board, is going to attract more people to the Uber platform, especially as things get going again post-pandemic and there's a lot of people out of work. So we're going to have more people than ever before coming onto the platform thinking that they're getting much greater terms and conditions from Uber than they really are. And that's going to cause more congestion. It's going to collapse driver earnings, because their utilization rates are going to fall away. And Uber's competitive position is going to be greater, because their response time to customer is going to be much lower than before. And because Uber are not paying the full working time from log on to log off, there's no incentive for Uber to rationalize the fleet and rationalize the number of people working. So my prediction is, unless Uber obeys the Supreme Court ruling, we're going to have a problem here, because we're going to have more and more people than ever before coming onto the platform. So you'll have more people chasing less or the same work. I mean, I don't know, you guys, what do you think? That's my prediction of something we need to be careful. And I say that with a lot of reluctance, because I don't want to sit here on the top of a really great victory, and it's huge progress, and sit here and, pee into the cornflakes about it, because that's not my intention. It's a great victory, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands we're not there yet. This is not compliant with the Supreme Court ruling. It's progress, but it's not there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with what James says. So just to summarize everything, as it stands, from my understanding, nothing changes. So you go in, you work as normal, but once you're POB, it just means, let's say you just done one job for £5, a minimum job, that 1 hour, and it took you an hour to do, Uber will top you up, making sure you do more. But if you get a good job, like let's say from central London to Heathrow, which is like £30, whatever, like that means you're okay. But if you make below the minimum, then they will top you up. And secondly, you get pension, you get holiday, and that's something we fought for. So there is some benefit in this ruling, and don't take it all negative. And one of the questions I think a lot of drivers were asking about the claim. Could they still claim? Now, no one knows, like, what Uber's about. Maybe they might come back and give each driver £10,000. Maybe they might give you £1,000. I don't know. If you already got cases with solicitors, that's the solicitor job to, deal with it. It's nothing to do with us guys as individuals or as a union. We don't do the Uber case. But the main thing is, you achieve, or you're going to get paid more money as it stands from today. It doesn't mean less. And if you read the email Uber send, they're very clear that that's the minimum you will get, not the maximum. So that means it's the floor. So that would mean, and one of the problems we have at the moment is, what are our expenses. So for example, like how much does it cost for us to run per an hour? Yeah. So all these things, they need to be like, I don't trust Uber to do their figures. And that's something like a wider debate, wider discussion and analysis into that. But generally speaking, like all the guys that's going to take their holiday from May 1st, I think it is, or somewhere in May, I would be grateful if you could sort of, like book me a ticket as well or something from that, as well as James, like a little holiday or something. So generally speaking, you got holidays that you could book that is basically money coming into your pocket. So it means you could go on holiday for 4 weeks or 5 weeks and you would get paid for it. So at the moment when you go on holiday, you're not getting paid for them. You spend money and you go on holiday. Now you're going to get paid while you're away on holiday. So how could that be worse off for drivers? But forget this ruling for a second. If you look at how Uber works, it's all about getting more and more drivers on the platform and making the fares cheaper and cheaper. And we saw that, like you got Sam on this, watching today, and he's been a long time driver since 2012, 2013. The pay has been going down and down. It hasn't gone up. And the question for me or for one of the oldest drivers is, where is the bottom line? Like, how down does our pay have to go? And so what this ruling does is it puts a floor into that market. Now, I know like the HMRC rate is 45p per mile, but that's just for private cars, for average people. Don't forget, we have commercial cars. We have higher insurance, like higher reward. So, for example, on my private car, I might be paying £1,000 a year, but if I'm using my car for, Uber, for example, I would be paying 3,000, 5,000, or even like £8,000 a year. So the costs are going up. So that 45p per mile can't be right if we're getting paid according to what average everyday people are getting paid. So the cost needs to be higher. So these are all different stuff. So for example, you might be driving a Prius, or you might have a fully electric car. You might have an S-Class Mercedes, which has higher costs. So all these stuff, we're gonna, and this is why I keep saying it's important to be part of a union. So these are the bigger debates and stuff that we could get involved with. And one of the things that we need to be pushing Uber is to deal with us collectively as a group, not as individuals.
That's absolutely the key thing, Yassine. It's absolutely the key point here, and that in the end, we'll keep fighting this through the courts, because we have to get to legal minimums before. But you got to get to legal minimums. We just have to get to legal minimums. Sorry, I keep saying that, but it is the collective power and it is the union power that's winning this. 2 weeks ago, Uber was completely defiant. And Yassine and I were saying at the time, they're going through grief. They're going through the 7 stages of grief, anger, denial, whatever. And they were. And they've completely transformed in 2 weeks. They've come back and, they've thrown the towel in, sort of, but not completely. But that shows you that they weren't ready for this. They hadn't accepted this, and we have to keep working now. That's the big message for people: is join the union, protect yourself, build your bargaining power, protect your license. And when in this situation, I grew up on a farm, and I'm used to farmyard analogies, and when you're herding cattle, when you got their tail up, keep them running. And we got them running now. They keep them going. This is no time to be hanging back and saying, oh, well, that's nice. That's something. We should be grateful. I only start getting grateful when I get my legal minimums. After that, I start getting grateful. And I might even say thank you. But when you're below legal minimums, you're below legal minimums. We need to get people to legal minimums before we start saying thank you to people.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we got one question here from Jason, and everyone is more or less asking the same question, and that's quite an easy question. So, as it stands, the minimum wage is £8.72. That's the minimum wage. Yeah. So that means that's the lowest you earn, but that doesn't include expenses. So let's say your expenses are £10, you need to be earning £18.72. So let's say you made £20, as you said. Yeah, that's okay. You keep all the money. But it doesn't mean you make £20, you have to pay like the £12 or £11 to Uber. That means the minimum. So, for example, if you got lucky and you made £100 for that hour, you get to keep the £100. And if you read that email again, Uber actually are quite clear saying after expenses. So basically, you have expenses. Like expenses mean your fuel. That £8.72 does not mean you take out fuel from that £8.72, or you pay your insurance from that £8.72, or your normal wear and tear. So all these stuff, like I said, like there's something that we need to discuss. But the main thing is, don't just read it properly. £8.72 does not mean including your expenses. That's after your expenses, and that's the lowest you earn.
Yeah,
but for example, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think this is a question that I've been asked many times, because people are getting it confused with, we are just going to get paid that hourly rate. That's not the case, guys. We are not getting paid an hourly rate. As James said, this is a minimum floor. This is the bottom of the bottom of where we can be. You know, this is us having our legal rights and our legal entitlements fulfilled. You know, like, this is about us not accepting sitting there for free for hours and hours upon end when we're in an airport rank, or like then we get given a short job. You know, this is about us having a minimum floor, you know, which so we can go home and we can provide for ourselves. We can put food on our table, food in our children's belly, and put the heating on and the roof over our heads. We're not asking for a lot. This is a multi-billion dollar company, and you know, it's only just got to this point. And how long has it been in the UK? Like, and it's still full. What you have to ask yourself, why does a multi-billion dollar company not want to pay its drivers fairly?
Yeah. And by the way, if you don't want to take those holidays, you don't have to take them. You could let Uber keep them. Just want to put it out there, because a lot of drivers are a bit confused. But there is no pressure for you to take those holidays. All it means is you get paid holiday to go on holiday, getting paid. Yeah.
Well, Yasin, I don't think you're going to be booking holiday off. You're going to get paid a 12% uplift for your holiday pay. So you're going to get cash on top. So you get minimum wage plus 12%, which is supposed to cover holiday pay. But I'll tell you what, though, it's still kind of cheap, though, because if you were on piece rate, for example, you'd be getting 1.2 times minimum wage. So, you know, you're getting so you're getting 120%, but here we're going to get 112%. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's good, but not good enough.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect the true situation that we're in. But then again, I don't think anyone here was expecting it to. So.
Okay. I also see a lot of questions about the union. Like, how much what are our fees, and is there any way we can make it cheaper for some of the drivers that are struggling to pay?
There's something else I wanted to say, but it's gone straight out of my head. Well, listen, I think we've made the union fees really as cheap as we can, because you know, the thing is, what we do. First of all, you have to understand what has happening in the gig economy over the past few years is there's this rise in surveillance enforcement now, because they know the gig is up on these contracts. So we're seeing lots of people slung off and then facing serious licensing action, particularly in London, but this is going to fan out across the country. So two things. Number one, that the compliance and the protection hurdle for you is raising. So you really should be in a union, and you can join whatever union you want. I mean, the ones that are set up to support your needs, really, frankly, are the GMB and ourselves, ADCU. Of course, I was going to push for ADCU because we're specialized in private hire and we're well kitted to support you. GMB is as well. They're a bigger union. They'll be more expensive, but they're a general union as well. So you can find other things inside the GMB. But the thing is, what we do is, if you're going to go to magistrate's court to appeal for your license, we're not going to send an amateur with you. You're going to be going with the proper licensing solicitor to represent you. And I have to say, I'm sorry to say, but that's becoming more and more frequent and often. So we have to charge at a certain level to make sure that we have the legal support to cover you when you need to. But we're a fighting union, though. We're not just here to provide, for a rainy day insurance coverage. We need to fix the entire industry, and that means we need to tackle these problems that we're having with Uber, and we're doing it. We've made a lot of progress in some years, but we still have a long way to go. We've still a long way to go to make sure people are paid at an industrial wage, that they can go home and you can get a mortgage and you can live a good standard of living. That's the dream here. It's not too much to ask, but that's going to take more union fighting. So, when you pay what's already very modest, really, £60 a year, £7 a month, it's not very much. But what we're delivering in terms of value, what you've seen this evening, what we're delivering in terms of value, is tremendous. But also, we've got an awful lot further to go, I'm afraid, with this. So we need you in the union. We need you in a fighting union at this stage.
No, I agree with what you said. Yeah, but I think just to give you so people watching, like, we have the national minimum wage, but we also have like the London living wage, which is a lot more higher. What is that, James? £10 something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 10.50 an hour or something like that.
10.50. So around London, it's quite common where people pay per the London living wage, and that's something that we should be pushing, not for the national minimum wage, but that, like I said, that's expenses after your expenses. Now, we've been on for a little while, but one thing I want to say is we have been working around the world with drivers, and what we achieved today, even for Uber to sort of offer what they're offering today, this is a massive achievement. I don't think any other drivers around the world were able to achieve this. And that's something, like, that's something solid there. Uber's willing to commit to something which benefits drivers.
We do need to try to, like they have in New York, like the regulators need to regulate, and we need access to our data so the regulators can regulate better and effectively, and we can see the stuff about ourselves. Like James was saying, it's like we don't have access to our own data that they are using against us.
Well, I would invite people to go to workerinfoexchange.org. If we can maybe put that link up right now. I want every driver to go and register there so we can get your data, so we can figure out really what are you owed. But the one thing I keep slipping out of my mind that I want to say is, from my understanding of this, what Uber's saying is that they want to make a back payment to you to make up for what you might have lost in the past. Be very careful. Get legal advice before you agree to something like that. Because really what Uber's been faced with a tsunami of litigation, and there's 15,000 people signed up with claims. And Uber would rather those go away and they could settle them potentially for cheaper. Because, what they're trying to do is get a 40 to 50% discount and not paying you your full working time, which is log on to log off. So just be really careful before you kind of get into that kind of an agreement with Uber, because that's the harsh business reality of what they're trying to do here is get you to agree that this is what we owe you for the past. We're done, but not really. You would be owed minimum wage for all time that you were logged in and logged out. I know I'm not going to be settling for anything less than that. So just be really careful that you don't settle for something like that. But there'll be time to think about it. We'll be on this over the next few days, Yassine and I and Steve and the whole team. But just for now, I just want to put that as a placeholder. Just be careful about that offer.
Yeah, no, I just want to, before we end it, like, we get a lot of calls every day. Every single day, we bombard with calls. So does James, our emails, our inbox, and it's all about drivers needing help and support. And a lot of time, people call us when they have an issue. So we have a clear policy, and I just want to put it out there because a lot of people, you know, like, the policy is we don't help with issues you had before you joined the union or within the first 60 days. And that's something that was not set by myself or James. This was something that we collectively agreed as part of our rule book. So it's important for drivers to be part of the union, because when when they call us and we turn around and say to the guys we can't help you, it's not because we don't want to help you, because that's the policy. That is our policy. So, you know, it's small amount of money, £60 for the year, which is £5 a month, but at least you have that assurance knowing you're not alone. There's someone there that you call or rely on if you need support or help. And unfortunately, I don't want to be attacking other unions, but a lot of people call us because they've been let down by other unions. Again, it's too late to join us, you know, because of our policy. So the best thing you could do is join us, you know, be with us now, and then in 2 months time or 3 months time, if you ever did have that issue, we could help you, because it's pointless you coming to us when the last union failed to help you. And one thing that is known out there is us guys, because we have been organizing drivers for years. We have that expertise. So for example, Steve on this call, he's from Birmingham. He's done a great job in terms of representing drivers there. He's regularly at the local council's meeting. We have Azim Hanif in Nottingham. He's regular there at the local council meeting, involved in all the stakeholders meeting. We have a good team in Glasgow, Alfie, Barry. We have Colin in Edinburgh. So we have like a national structure, and it's just, for me to name everyone is difficult. But the point is, look, we're a national union. I'm not saying we're perfect, but for the for what we're doing, you know, we're doing a lot. And the point is, if you see someone else doing something better, then join them. We're not there to stop you. But what I'm trying to say is, if you want to be with us, now's the time to join us. You know, don't come when you got an issue. You know, be part of that movement, because the only way we have more power is when we have bigger numbers behind us. And we want to be able to touch 10,000, 20,000. And now's the time for that. Okay, James, that's it. Anything else from you?
No, that's it. Join the union. That's the message here, is join the union. Yeah. We'll get these people, got their tails up, keep them running. We're going to get them to legal minimums, but then there's so much more to do. We have to have a fair dismissals and grievance process. We can't have people slung out of work for no reason. We have to have those protections. We have to have a collective agreement on data and access to data for drivers. And we're just going to have proper trade union recognition. You know, we're slowly but surely, Uber's maturing into a grown-up company, but we have a lot more work to do, and now's the time to join the union. We need to keep moving, but this isn't. We're not at the finish line. And I'm not going to settle for anything other than legal minimums. I don't know about you, Yassine, but we've still got more work to do here. So we'll still see Uber in court. Put it that way. I'm not done with them. Are you? You, Steve? Are you done with them?
No. Not yet, mate. Not yet. Not happy just yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a longer, like I said, we're here for years. Right? And it's not just about Uber. It's about making sure that, you know, we have a union that's there for drivers. We want to be able to help you with PCN tickets, totting up points, all them kind of stuff. But it's a long way to get to that stage, you know. So we want to have a union that's focused for the drivers, where you just walk in and everything is sorted for you. But it's going to take us a year to get to that stage, to be big and massive. But anyway, we've got Charles Holland watching us. Thank you for joining us today, Charles. James, you know him, don't you, Charles?
Yeah, Charles was a very, very bright licensing barrister. Heavily involved actually with Uber as an opponent in the past. So good to see Charles here. Okay, well, I think that's quite enough. You probably hear Yassine and I on the airwaves tomorrow. I think I'm going to be on the BBC Radio 4 Today program about 7:20 tomorrow morning. All going well, but these things get changed and cancelled at the last minute. But I think we'll be talking about this a lot more. I think tomorrow. Uber's had the first flush of press on this, but it's up to us to make sure that people properly understand. It's just not quite as simple as Uber wanted to be, which is why they've done it this way. Get it out late at night. They've embargoed it all day. They've been talking to the press all day, and we've only, at the last minute, had to put that statement together and get it out to say, hang on a second, this is not what the Supreme Court ordered them to do. I'm sorry, I could go on for another hour here, but I just still find it's extraordinary that Uber could come out with this that still is it's below legal minimum. I mean, imagine that. Imagine if you go to TfL or any licensing authority and you just say to them, look, well, I'm not fully compliant, but I'm more compliant than I was yesterday. Would that do? Well, I mean, no, it doesn't. You have to obey the law. But they're not obeying the law, not yet.
But anyway, thank you for everyone watching. Like I said, look, the time is 11:30, nighttime, early midnight. Yeah, no other union would be out at this time. Not just for our members, we're there for the whole driving community, talking about something, and that's how sincere we are. And you would never find anyone more active as us guys. None of us get paid. We're just there trying to do what we can to help you guys. And you could support us by being a member, yeah? Thank you, everyone, yeah?
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Steve, if you could stay on for a second, please.